and welcome to Perception Check, the actual play podcast for D&D 5e in our homebrew world. First, you're hearing this because there won't necessarily be an episode because we lost a bunch of audio about our heroes entering the ice cream mines in Candy Cane Forest just to town. So I have Matt and Adrian here.
Hello.
Hi.
And we're just going to kind of go over what we did record. I didn't want to just redo it because it lessens the reactions and it's not genuine, and kind of like what happened with Erebus's backstory where we lost some audio there and we kind of had to figure something out.
Yeah.
So first of all, let's get to the most important thing. Adrian, what game are you playing?
Well, I was playing Project H, and now I am uploading Death's Door.
Okay, nice. And you said Project H is a horror game.
Yeah, it's like a pixelated, like, just like point and click puzzle game, but it's got like a creepy element, I guess. I made Matt play it the other day.
Nice.
Actually, it's kind of fun.
That sounds like fun. And what's this other game you're downloading while we're talking?
Death's Door.
Death's Door.
I listened to the McElroy's video game podcast, The Besties. This one was recommended on there, and it made me want to play it. So
nice.
Yeah,
that sounds far more interesting than what we're doing here.
It's only $20 on Steam. Go check it out.
Now I see why Corey just was like, yeah, go ahead and play. Oh, so good.
I did too. But it doesn't bother me. I'm cool with it.
No, I know. Yeah.
Made me laugh. Okay, to recap.
You know what? Just keep playing your video game because I'm sure you will contribute just as much as you do on the regular podcast.
I'm not playing a video game. I'm downloading a video game.
That's
I closed Project H to download Death's Door. And It's now downloading.
Well, during this conversation, we'll just check back in and see what kind of high scores Adrian is.
I'm not going to play it. I'm downloading it.
Honestly, I don't care. I just thought it'd be funny if I was like, oh, it's totally cool, and then instantly called you out.
Listen, I have 6 more games I could play that would give you less attention, so I'm really being very merciful.
Oh, okay. All right.
Nerd.
Okay, so the last episode, we all found ourselves in Candy Cane Forest, just a town, where you met a slew of incredibly well thought out and well scripted characters, such as Mr. Lawrence Licorice, Mabel of the Stables, and Jack Smith the Blacksmith, who was 12 years old and super ripped.
And both of his parents died in the mine.
Yes, both of his parents died.
Just recap, just to be clear,
Mm-hmm.
there are 8 people in the town.
Yeah.
Plus a dead horse.
And a dead horse.
Which Carol bought.
Technically.
Yep.
And just left rotting in the town, just out.
No,
on the
remember I infested it with fleas and had them eat it.
which will take time.
The skeletal.
Time,
This
but
is the skeletal remains of a horse.
it's like millions of insects.
Yeah. You know,
I didn't want to immolate it because that was a higher spell slot.
that's true. That's true. Speaking of spell slots, well, I have the map pulled up. I'm just going to kind of cruise through it. So you guys walked into the mine, the ice cream mines in Candy Cane Forest, just a town, which in and of itself is just a whole weird, strange concept. As you went down into the mine, everything kind of started to get frosted over, and through that frost on the rocks, there were ice cream veins, which was just pure white, almost like a vanilla ice cream that kind of caked the walls and kind of ran deeper into the stone. Everything was kind of frosted over. You did discover a faint light and faint glow from red and blue crystals that were across the ground. These were flavor crystals. In the
Immediately licked. I said, which Topher immediately licked.
Yes,
Yeah.
he did not waste. Well, Bard technically.
In your description of the flavor crystals, you just said that they had flavor, and then he's like, I like it.
Yeah. So then I described like there were some different strawberry and different flavor tones depending on the crystal. And this was Bard because Bard was in the party.
Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't Topher. It was Bard. I'm silly.
No, you're good.
They have the same voice, okay?
Yeah, they do. But yeah, these flavor crystals being around the mine, the glow that they have and the power of flavor that they possess flavors the ice cream along the veins in the walls. So as we went in, everyone was exploring. There was a hole kind of near a large rock where there was different branching pathways. And I'm trying to remember, I think it was Sorrow.
No, it wasn't. It was Dave wasn't with us. Okay, it was Erebus. Erebus went over to the. So we had detected magic at some point.
Mm-hmm.
We found a faint sort of magic in this very cavernous region in a hole in the ground. After we had fought maybe just a couple of bad guys, I believe.
It was before it was pretty still, and it was when you started investigating this hole, you saw crystals going kind of down the hole.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if it was Sarah or Erebus went over there first. I think Sarah went over there, like moved over there first, and then Erebus moved over and made noise or something. But we were both standing around it.
Yeah, or did Geralt send down a drift globe?
No, that was just in the room.
Okay.
Very possible.
Well,
we would have sent it back down and then back up because it's only 60 feet, and we knew it went deeper.
Yeah.
That particular portion I am unclear about.
Yeah.
But what I am clear about is that stuff came up from the hole.
Yes, you were attacked by multiple ice mephits. They're tiny crystalline creatures that when they land on different crystals and stuff, they are imperceptible as being living creatures. They blend in perfectly. They're fairly low level. They do a little bit of damage. But they kind of came at you in swarms. And as you kind of fought off these ice mephits, I'm probably saying that wrong. But as you're fighting them, you actually brought more out from other sections of the cave that kind of swarmed in. And you guys used some pretty good tactics of kind of like funneling them through some corridors to be able to take out a group at once, which was really good. It was a good example of teamwork against some low-level creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them. I think there were 12 or 16.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys were pretty surrounded.
But I do remember that they had a certain vulnerability to fire.
Yes. Yes.
Bart sang a song of inspiration, and then he also did like a poison spray poison cloud, something like that. So a little bit of crowd control, a little bit of AoE stuff, and yeah, we took them out.
Yeah, and I think you did some sort of like wall of flame.
I did, yeah. When they
one of the entrances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they coming forward and hitting the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sarah was just trying to conserve spell slots for later. I think I just used a bunch of fireballs and stuff, cantrips.
Trip stuff, yeah. I think that was smart.
Yeah, fairly low-level things as you went through. You proceeded through the opening of this cave past a couple of corridors and adjacent rooms that kind of joined up to one pathway. There was still one pathway on the right that you guys didn't necessarily explore. So you went left and you went deeper into the mine and turned a corner. And you could hear, and with dark vision see, a number of trolls eating the ice cream and taking bites of crystals. There were 3 trolls, I believe you could see. What you couldn't see was one hidden around a corner of this kind of larger cavern room. And this is where Bard actually came in and screwed up everything by casting like a noxious cloud or something.
Mm-hmm.
And my one hidden one, which I was hoping to ambush you with, was just stuck in the cloud, kept failing its save, and kept being immobile, throwing up all over the place, which caused a couple other ones on different rounds to not be able to move or act. It caused all sorts of problems for me. It was one of the best spells you could have possibly cast.
I can't remember what was it called, the spell. Do you remember? That's right. It's because he was in the cloud is why he started vomiting, because he rolled really bad. I remember.
I remember because Erebus went to try to go through it and was not able to because he basically couldn't get into the combat because it was not only was it difficult terrain, but it was like visibility something, I believe.
Yeah. You were able to draw out one of them, which you guys just pretty much took down pretty quickly. They were trolls, so you figured out pretty quickly that fire stopped them from healing, because each round they would regain hit points. But yeah, the stinking cloud, a 20-foot radius sphere of yellow nauseating gas centered on a point within range. Cloud spreads around corners, which is how it got my one guy, and its area is heavily obscured. The cloud lingers in the air for the duration, which is concentration up to 1 minute. So that's basically what Bard did the entire time. Each creature that is within the cloud at the start of its turn must make a Constitution saving throw against poison. On a failed save, the creature spends its action that turn retching and reeling. Creatures that don't need to breathe or are immune to poison automatically succeed on the saving throw. That was not my trolls. A moderate wind, at least 10 miles per hour, disperses the cloud after 4 rounds. A strong wind disperses it after 1 round. So obviously we're in a cave, not a lot of wind going on. So yeah, that really screwed me over. And you guys made pretty quick work of those trolls.
Yeah.
My on fire ball bearings.
Yes, Geralt lit ball bearings on fire and threw them into the cloud, causing some damage and some mobility issues.
I think that was the difficult terrain I remembered from the
Yeah.
gameplay.
Basically, yeah, I think that's correct. Because basically, I oiled up some ball bearings, lit them on fire, and threw them, and then they kept stepping in those areas, which was difficult terrain, and then also getting 1d4 fire damage.
Yeah. So you guys made quick work of the trolls. You guys haven't really encountered anything too crazy or too strong in some time. And these were not too crazy or too strong. But it was all part of my master plan. Get you to burn some spell slots.
Plan I did not fall for.
Yeah.
Always prepared.
So we continued north after dispatching the trolls pretty easily. Bard used his tan bag of tricks to make an animal appear during the last encounter with the trolls, which was an axe beak. So you had that little critter following you around, which was quite fun. And Bard also has his lemur friend, which is currently hiding in his backpack. He hasn't quite used him yet.
I forgot about the axe beak.
Yeah. Because I was staring and I was like, why is there a Tyrannosaurus Rex on the map? And then I was
Who
like,
is this
right,
guy?
that's right. So you guys walked into a much, much larger cavern where there was a large rift in the ground, a large hole, and there was a troll next to it who was kind of like investigating. and you guys kind of heard a rumbling. And as the troll saw you, a large creature popped up and grabbed the troll and drug it down into the hole. And then you were faced by a incredibly large, actually a huge monstrosity. It's almost like a long, like centipede-esque creature with like a cobra's hood with spikes sticking out of it. It's this crazy, crazy bug who popped up, and my confidence was sky high that I'd be giving you guys some trouble until Matt cast Hold Monster, which put a little bit of a damper. We'll kind of see how that goes because I get some saves.
You failed the first one.
I did fail the first one. So.
By the way, I will say I was not 100% prepared. I'm teasing. I was weary that there wasn't anything that was like really that bad. So I was prepared for something that was that bad. And then we ran into those guys and I was like, oh crap.
Yes. In retaliation, Bard Simpson kind of got the high ground on top of a large rock that was coming out from the ground. His axe beak stood bravely in front of this creature while it was being held. People were taking their shots. Erebus used one of his spells to polymorph the axe beak into a T-Rex, which is why that's on the map.
Oh crap, you're right.
Forgot
about that.
Yeah. Geralt, everyone kind of kept their distance where they came from with the troll at kind of the mouth of this kind of hallway. But just as they were getting comfortable with the failing of the Hold Monster, there was another rumble, and from the cavern wall behind Sorrow, next to Erebus and kind of next to Geralt, another one of these huge creatures burst out. And I believe... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I said I was not expecting that.
Yes. It ambushed you. They have the ability to burrow. But there was a second one that came out, and I rolled a dice to see who it would attack, having Erebus, Sorrow, and Geralt right next to it. I rolled on Erebus and missed because he has such a high DC. I was rolling quite poorly in this session, which I'm hoping when we resolve this combat, I roll much better.
Don't we all?
But yeah, but the way we have it right now is these creatures are incredibly dangerous. They do a very large amount of damage. They have some other attack actions that can put people in a really bad place. And it is within range of Geralt, who, if he tries to retreat, could get an attack of opportunity unless he disengages. Same thing with Erebus, same thing with Sorrow. Sorrow, being a lower leveled character, is in a lot of trouble.
We're all in a lot of trouble. You spawned it so perfectly to basically capture all of us but Bard, I think.
Yeah, Bard's safe for now on top of a rock.
I think we learned that it had a 15-foot reach or something.
You learned that it has a 10-foot reach.
Okay.
And you also learned when Erebus took a swipe at it that it also has a heated body. So a creature that touches it or hits it with a melee attack while within 5 feet, it takes 3d6 fire damage.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. We also speculated, but we're not sure, just because of the size of the creatures and the type that they were. It's very possible to get a swallow whole creature.
Yes.
And you have not released that information, but I'm very wary of that.
Yes. I mean, if it did, and with a burrow ability, I mean, this could be real, real bad news.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to have to teleport the hell out of there.
If it goes for you.
Right.
Now, looking at Sorrow's HP, I can confidently say one good hit on Sorrow, one landed hit, has a very high chance of taking out all of her hit points.
I am looking forward to the challenge, but I am scared.
We've done so few death saves,
Yeah.
in our
I-
history of D&D playing.
I have a feeling there will be a whole lot of saving if you go down with this creature.
You underground.
Yeah, it's going to be so interesting, and I'm really excited for it. Obviously, schedules haven't lined up as well recently. I've had wisdom teeth removed, and people got work. You know how it is.
Sick for a month.
Yeah, so I'm excited to get back to it, especially when we ended a session with lives in the balance.
I know.
Such a cliffhanger.
Yeah, it really was, which is a shame we didn't capture it because we lost this stupid up.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited. Garrel, how is your confidence level?
I would say medium. I
Okay.
have a plan, and I think it's a pretty decent one. But it is, because it's a game, it's all dependent on the rolls and how it works out and your reaction to what I do.
Yeah.
But I do have a plan to protect my friends.
Oh.
So we'll see. I've been looking quite deeply into the concentration spell to make sure that I can do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because hold monster is concentration. So if I do another concentration spell, I break that other hold. So what I really need to do is, well, I can't tell you what I'm going to do, but what I'm going to do is something that isn't another concentration spell, which is what I wanted to do. So I am relying on the order of players that will play.
I'll be honest, I did not realize that was a concentration spell, and that's very exciting.
I'm sure it is. Yeah, yes, I am scared of the range of the creature's attack and movement because I am not normally in a situation where I am, 20 feet from a creature. I really try to keep my distance.
Yes.
And I play accordingly. Like I purposely play so that I don't have that happen. And if I do, I use a spell like Blink or whatever to be able to move myself around. But Blink is also concentration, and I can't have two concentration spells going at the same time.
Yes.
Like I said, I really looked into this. Like I was like trying to figure out if I could blink and hold monster and then cast another spell, and I can't do that.
Yeah. It's a pickle. It's the best pickle I've gotten you guys
Oh,
in
100%.
for some time.
Hard no matter what. That's why I said my confidence level is like medium. That
Yeah.
everyone will make it out alive. Certain I will, and probably a couple of others, but it's very possible that we lose a character.
But yeah. Yeah. Well, I can't wait to find out. Sorrow, where's your confidence level?
Yeah, I give her a 60-40 chance, 40 chance she lives. That's my thing.
Yeah.
We'll
Yep.
see. The best part about D&D is you can create a new character when one dies.
For sure.
So bring it on.
Yeah, can't wait to figure out what happens there as well. One thing I will talk about is something that we are going to incorporate that we've discussed, and it will take a little bit of trying out, figuring it out. For a long time on the show, we've been trying to figure out something fun to do with critical hits and critical fails. We've come up with a few things and tried implementing them, but they're easy to forget in the heat of battle. And it's been hard to kind of keep track of using Shard Tabletop, which I suggest everyone do. We've been able to come up with an idea that's a little more streamlined, a little bit easier, but also set it as a handout. So any one of us can pull it up at any time. So it's not just on kind of like one person to remember all the details. We have all the details readily available and accessible at any moment. So I will go through kind of what we have to kind of make things a little more interesting. So there's kind of a little bit of a difference between a player crit and a DM crit. For players, they have a little bit more of a benefit to help them in combat, while DM crits have a little bit more to do with positioning. So player crit tables on a critical miss. So if Geralt or Bard or River get a critical miss, I, as the DM, get inspiration to give myself advantage on their next attack. So it's only until that player comes back around, or if it's my first attack against that player. Okay, so let me set this up. Let me explain this better. Geralt rolls a 1. So I would put a marker on him for 1 round. It is a troll's turn, and I want to go up and attack Geralt. I would get advantage on that attack. If I had multiple attacks, I would only get it on that first attack. The second attack would just be a standard. So it basically leaves them vulnerable for just whatever happens next.
And for clarification's sake, it is only the character that I have attacked in the scenario. So
yes, it is only the character
against Troll 1, then Troll 1 gets advantage.
Only the one.
Yeah, whoever you're engaged with.
The only one you failed against, yeah.
Failed, yes.
I think that's totally fair. I don't see a point. I would never be like fighting with Erebus and then Geralt's way over here, and then you get a critical miss, and then I'm like, oh, but this guy's gonna leave fighting Erebus to go attack Geralt. Like it's always going to like make as much sense as possible. Moving on from the critical miss for a player, if a player gets a natural 20, you roll damage twice as you would with any sort of critical hit. And then you can choose a -2 for one of the following on the person you critically hit. It could be strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, or armor class. So flavor-wise, you'd get a -2. You'd be able to roll a 1d4 to see how many rounds this takes effect. And what this kind of does is, like, say Erebus gets a crit, and he knows Geralt is going to try to do some sort of spell, then he could be like, I want to do -2 to wisdom, because he's going to have to roll a save, and he's going to have to roll a save at a -2. Or armor class. Maybe the armor class is super high and you guys aren't able to hit it. It gives you more of an advantage, like damaging the armor or creating an opening, something like that. So I feel like that's another fun way to strategize among yourselves.
It definitely promotes teamwork.
Yeah, and also kind of adds a little bit more strategy.
So yeah, I've thought about it a bit, and we've gone back and forth on like how severe these actions should be for player and DM, and we want a good balance between the two of them. And until we implement them, there's no way of knowing for sure.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I think it's fairly balanced. I think there are a few that are a little bit more powerful, and there are a few that are not. So
yeah,
promoting teamwork and affecting specifically the player that failed, or creature that failed, I think is a good way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the critical hits, like the -2, like if someone's hitting you every single time they roll, then you can do -2 to strength. And that's going to affect a lot of stuff. Saves, it's going to affect their attack. It's going to do all of those things. like dexterity, constitution. Like there's tons of ways to mix and match like how you're approaching or changing an encounter uh, based on a player 20. You know?
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
for sure. And how I'm going to kind of role play that is if you say I want to take -2 to the creature's dex, have you roll a 1d4 for how many rounds, and then it's up to you to describe what you do that impacts their dexterity. So when
Yeah.
you describe how you hit them, like maybe you get them in a leg, or maybe you cut them on an arm and, you know, they're like you struck a nerve or something. Like you dazed them a little bit when you clocked them in the head. So just adding that little bit of extra flavor and role play in there. So obviously there's ones for the DM as well. If I, as a DM, roll a critical miss, that creature becomes vulnerable for 1 round for the next attack. So instead of getting inspiration or advantage or something for the players, whoever attacks them, that first attack against the creature who critically missed, it'll be double damage, even on a regular hit.
I was wondering what you meant by that. That was one that we didn't clarify.
Yeah. So vulnerable is kind of like if you're vulnerable to slashing damage, you would take double damage from slashing. Or if you're vulnerable to fire damage, then you'd take double damage from fire damage. This is vulnerable to everything. They've exposed themselves. You can get a clean hit, do extra damage, but just like the player critical miss, it's for that next attack. You're taking advantage of a moment in time. Yeah, if I get a critical hit as a DM, I do the normal roll damage twice, but the hit rocks them in such a way that I can move the target 5 feet in any direction.
Yeah, that's the only one that has me worried.
Well, it's interesting. So if I have a reach of 10 feet, maybe I, like with these creatures, I have a reach of 10 feet and you are 10 feet away. I roll a crit, hit you for double, and maybe that pulls you forward. Or maybe it knocks you and stumbles you to the left 5 feet to where you're closer to another enemy. It's just a way of not like, I'm not doing anything to lessen your stats. I'm not doing anything to completely mess up anything other than putting you in a more dangerous situation, which with the amount of health you guys have and AC you guys have at your level, the additional damage and stuff isn't bad, but it's strategy wise. Because I don't have a lot of creatures and stuff, except if I was like, oh, I'm going to put every encounter you fight someone who has magic who can control the battlefield, right? But every time I fight you, you guys have magic to control the battlefield. So this is the one moment where I can actually do a slight adjustment.
Right. The battlefield control that you may be able to have on things like a hungry pit or black tentacles or something that maybe the player cast and not the DM that could then affect themselves and they didn't plan for it, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So
If
it's
you're
going to make it
standing-
interesting for sure.
It is, because the moment that someone makes that mistake of standing 5 feet next to a pit or 5 feet next to a firewall and I crit them, like,
Yeah.
you dummy, you shouldn't have been standing there when you know that.
Absolutely. It keeps us on our toes for sure. But that's the one. I mean, damage obviously, it's always bad when you're in a scenario, especially as any sort of caster. But movement, when that's what you rely on, is your distance from things, and your control of the battlefield. That's the one thing that I was like, oh, I really hope I'm smart and I don't get caught in something that could potentially move me 5 feet into a very dangerous situation.
Yeah. And that's where like I'm not gonna get crazy with it. Like there are some creatures that when they hit, they have kind of a knockback, which could knock someone 10 feet back or 5 feet back.
Sure. Yeah.
I think unless it was going in just like a straight line, maybe add 5 feet to it.
That makes sense.
Or if it's like I can choose a direction of something, I don't know, case by case. But if it's like something crazy, I'm going to make it to where I have to choose 5 feet any direction or like the 10 feet in the direction they tell me.
Oh, I was just gonna say, are you rolling a d4 for the direction, or do you get to choose it on your crit?
I think it's
think you get to choose it, right?
beneficial. Yeah, I choose it. Because I think that's the only way to make it actually dramatic and mean something if they get
Advantageous
a
for
critical.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, a critical hit on you. I didn't want to come up with a bunch of like a crit table that could totally break an encounter. I didn't want to do anything like that. I just wanted to add in some flavor here just to promote like a subtle shift
Mhm.
that then has to be taken into account.
I like it, and I actually liked our old crit system too. The thing is, it was a little bit more complicated,
Yeah.
and we often kind of forgot to use it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
forgot about it all the time.
And when we did, it was hard to implement.
Yeah.
There were certain vulnerabilities. I'm sure if you listen, then you will already know that we had certain things that did certain things to different parts of the creatures' bodies and stuff.
Yeah.
But really, I
So
think it was only against players versus creatures, and there was really no backlash to the players. So this
mm,
time we have balance.
yes. And another thing was that I like we had stuff to where you could crit and get someone to drop a weapon or get someone to be dazed or maybe
Mhm.
blinded or something like that,
But
which
there were certain
before.
scenarios when it didn't make sense as well.
Yeah. And also that we kind of came up with that at a time where we weren't necessarily as versed in how to play Dungeons and Dragons and how to do 5e. And I thought having a critical effect that is something, fighter skills can do, like disarming people, or spells that can daze people. It makes those moments less special, and it kind of gives everyone that ability, as
Hmm.
opposed to like someone actually planning out and using a well-timed spell or move. It doesn't make it as like cool, you know? So I
Yeah,
thought
makes sense.
something a little less to kind of like adjust the battle, change the flow of it would be better than giving everyone like different abilities to where they didn't necessarily have to plan as cleverly what they're bringing with them.
That makes sense.
But anyway,
I'm excited for it because I think we're implementing that on this battle that we will be doing. So
yes.
this will be the first instance of this new crit system.
Yeah.
And I'm
And
quite
again, there,
excited
there
for
may
it
be
because
changes.
it could really change specifically this battle,
Yeah,
especially movement stuff right now.
for sure.
Anything movement related or damage with these creatures that, I mean, they're so huge, you gotta expect that they're gonna do some serious damage, and then to have double damage on top of that with
Mhm.
2 low level characters. Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
just like to
it's gonna
add
be
that
fun.
I'm still here, but I'm eating a fresh out of the oven, scratch made Carl pecan
I
cinnamon
know
roll.
you sent a picture and they look so good. What do you think of this crit idea, Adrian?
I'm excited to use it. I think, like Matt was saying, we forget to use the other stuff when we crit a lot. Like we've always said, oh, double damage or whatever, but we forget that we have this other little advantage to critting.
Mhm.
And so I think maybe it'll be easier for us to remember.
You know what the
Yeah,
thing is? I loved that system, but what Corey was saying is correct. There, a lot of them were like melee-ish focused. And so when they
Yeah.
did get implemented, it was like, well, my spell doesn't really do that, so it doesn't make a ton of sense that I would disarm them with a poison cloud or whatever.
Right.
It just, I don't know. I was trying to think of like a spell that very specifically, but whatever it was, there were some scenarios where it just didn't really make sense. And it reminded me of Skid getting really mad. And I'm sure in Glass Cannon. And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm sure there are people out there that when we did that crit system, they were like, that doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And I think this
Like,
system
oh yeah, I'm
hopefully
just
makes a
gonna
little
turn
bit
around
more
and shoot
sense.
my friend.
We'll have to justify the movement portion and the vulnerability. I think those are the only two things that we might have questions on, like, does this make sense? But as far as balance goes, I like it, so I'm not going to question it. I'm interested to see how that will work.
Yeah, I think a lot of the movement will probably be because I don't know if we'll have a lot of pulling people closer. I think it'll be a lot of moving people right, left, or back. And how flavor wise I plan on kind of describing those instances is like the direction the swipe came. So if I'm moving you to the right, they swung in on the left and hit you so hard you took double damage, but it also staggered you over instead of
Totally
like,
makes sense. I
yeah.
can see it for melee. I'm the one I'm thinking about is more like spell stuff or
Mhm.
ranged projectile, like a bow or something like that.
Yeah.
I guess a bow makes sense. It would go back. I mean, you don't get to choose that. You can't move them right or left. You've got to
Yeah.
go back. It
And
just
and I
makes the
think
most
with
sense.
something kind of ranged, it could also be that you see it coming, and you try moving, and then
Right.
it
It
hits you, and
it
then you
gets
kind of
you
like,
in a more vulnerable place, but you still have already moved.
yeah,
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
and you kind of
See,
stagger.
see, these are the things that I was thinking about that were like, I want things to make sense.
Oh, same here. Yeah, like I don't want to do anything cheap or that's just like mechanic wise. I want to get more flavor into our fights because I feel like sometimes we get so into it, it just becomes like roll the dice. I hit him with this spell, cool, takes this damage, awesome,
Yeah.
next person. So getting more
More
flavor, I feel like
description.
this
Yeah.
forces it.
You know what's funny is the last recording, we did so much more description in our fight.
No, yeah, we did so good. It was so good, and I was sitting there and I was like, oh man, we've come so far, and all the audience.
We're really trying to be more descriptive and be more in and talk more in character sort of stuff.
Mhm.
And just getting better at like playing the game. And it's sad that we lost it, but it's nice that we have this opportunity to be able to talk about it and implement a crit system now.
Yeah, yeah, and really kind of hone in on a flavor because I think this crit system is easy enough. We all have access to it through the handouts. It's simpler to understand, and it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for those, like you guys getting a critical hit and then doing a -2 to something, setting up someone else so it's like a big, oh, cool moment,
Oh,
or
I'm
me getting
excited for
a
that as well.
critical hit
Yeah.
on you and then pushing you off the ledge so you have to make like a save.
Yeah.
Um,
It's gonna be good.
yeah, yeah. I'm thinking of all the oh no moments, which is going to be fun. But yeah, anyway, I think we're probably good to wrap it up. It sucks we lost the audio, but I'm glad we didn't record uh, the meat of this combat with these creatures because there is such a high risk. And I'm glad we didn't lose that. So if we were going to lose one, I'm glad we lost this one.
Better on a two-parter like that.
Yeah, and especially not losing the interactions you guys had with Candy Cane Forest Just the Town
Oh
because
my gosh.
I don't think I
Yeah.
could replicate it.
It was a mess.
It was a lot
It
of
was
fun.
nutty.
It was a beautiful mess. But yeah, thank you guys for joining me. Did you have anything else?
No, I love you and love everyone who listens.
And you
Aw.
know, if you're the praying kind, maybe say a little prayer for sorrow.
Yes. We'll see what happens. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and have a great day. Get vaccinated.
Wear a mask. Be smart. Be
Wear a
kind.
mask.
Be loving. Be caring. Be good.
Yes. Bye.